I know, bad hair, but I don't care. Hello, everybody. Yeah, I'm awake. Didn't get to sleep till about 5:30 in the morning, but I'm awake. And this is DJ Crazy Tom here. I'll be getting ready for work in a little while, but this is a special edition of Crazy Commentary, my What Drives Me Crazy, for this Thursday, April 30th. And two things before we start. A couple birthday shouts. First to my brother Kevin, who celebrates today. Many happy returns to my brother. Hopefully he has the day off from being a sergeant. That would certainly be nice. Can you believe next year he's going to turn to 10's digit? I'm like, holy mackerel, what's going on here? So hope you're doing well, Kevin. Many happy returns to you. And secondly, to my cousin Sammy, who's getting married a couple months from now up in New York State. So I didn't realize the two of them shared a birthday. So hopefully Sammy's doing well, and many happy returns to her and to my brother as they celebrate surviving another year, as I would call it. But here's something that I don't know how this is even possibly going to survive. Now, last night I put up a post on my Facebook page at facebook.com/crazytom, and I found this courtesy of a reporter out in Mobile, Alabama named Devin Walsh. Comes from TV station WKRG. I think it's like CBS Channel 5. And it's funny because it reminded me right away of the sitcom from 40 years ago called WKRP in Cincinnati. So I was just saying to myself, Alabamy, WKRG. And I'm like, oh dear, this is sounding eerily familiar here, like I was growing up. But let me put it to you this way. All comedy aside, I could not believe what I found last night, and I had no choice but to post to my personal page and also on my What Drives Me Crazy page, which you can also find on Facebook. But this is absolutely astounding if you ask me. Now, next Thursday, my son will be starting 7th grade at the junior senior high school where we live. Gonna be a new exciting experience for him, and he actually said something about this, which I'll include at the end of this thing, but I just could not believe what I saw. And the first time I read this, I thought it was a joke. But we live in 2018. We live where everybody's just so sensitive about everything. It's like I can understand all people have to be created equal. But this goes beyond equality. This goes beyond ridiculousness, if you ask me. And I'm telling you this right off the bat, that the title of the caption is called The Alabama State Department of Education Inappropriate Activities. And they list 8 of them. And I'm like, inappropriate activities? Like, what's going on here? Well, it says below, it is highly recommended and suggested that the following activities, games, and practices not be allowed in physical education programs in Alabama schools. So basically, they're looking over the entire state's physical education repertoire, and they're listing games that should and should not be played. Now, I want you to keep in mind, we're dealing with kids here for the most part. And you gotta be born and raised somewhere. You're not going to believe some of the things that they have listed. You have to remember, when I was a kid, I pretty much did most of these things anyway. But let me share this with you one at a time, and there are 8 of them. The first one, I'm still scratching my head over. Yoga. Believe it or not, yoga is prohibited by the Code of Alabama, and it says Chapter 290-040-040, whatever that means, before, during, and after the academic day on a public school campus. Now, can we rewind this here? They're banning yoga on a public school campus. Now, just over 30 years ago, I was a freshman in high school, and they actually permitted smoking between classes outside. The next year, they got rid of it, thank goodness, because it was definitely a health issue. But here, they're more worried about yoga being practiced than smoking on a campus. What the heck's going on here? It's like, you need to relax. You can't even do yoga. It's just ridiculous here. I mean, think about this. If somebody has an understanding problem and goes up to one of these people who came up with these ordinances and he said, "Mister, are you telling me you're banning yogurt in schools?" And I'm like, "I didn't say yogurt. You said you're banning yogurt in schools. It's a healthy snack. Why would that be banned?" I didn't say yogurt. I said yoga. I'm like, "Are you doing these things to try and stress us out?" And probably the administration will say, yes. It's insane. If they're going to do that thinking they're protecting the kids, they really aren't protecting the kids at all. So they ban yoga on campus. You know what? Everyone who's into yoga in Alabama should meet up and try and challenge them. Like having it outside on a clear night, like 55, 60 degrees, outdoor yoga in front of a school, and see if anybody says anything about it. I challenge you guys to do that. Because that is just the most insane thing that I have ever heard of in my entire life. It is as mind-boggling as anything that I've ever seen. So that's number one. Number two, you're going to love this one. I played this so much as a kid. And this kind of relates to a great cartoon from 1995 in Dexter's Laboratory. They're recommending you do not play dodgeball. Yes, in the first season of Dexter's Laboratory, there was a famous cartoon in where Dexter wanted to sign out and be excused from physical education forever. But the substitute teacher wanted none of that and ordered them to play dodgeball. And Dexter kept getting drilled by the dodgeballs until he built this giant robot and started firing dodgeballs like 200 miles an hour at the kids. Evidently, the state of Alabama and their Department of Education thinks that could possibly happen. It says for number two, dodgeball, which is any variation or other name. Get this, folks. It is even written in red. There are no standards in the Alabama course of study, physical education, for any grade that supports or justifies this activity, variation, or other name, where a student or students are targets of thrown objects. Now I want you to think about something. Say you have the lightest, fluffiest Nerf ball on the planet, which is maybe a foot in circumference, and you throw it at the kids. Now, are you telling me that if one deflects off of somebody's head, they're going to get knocked out? I mean, think about it for a second. They are not throwing these balls at 90 miles an hour. A fluffy Nerf ball, it is impossible to throw at 90 miles an hour unless you completely defy the law of physics. I mean, think about this. You're taking away activities that kids need to have, running around. What alternatives do they have? It makes no sense at all. Now, I can understand throwing baseballs at 90 miles an hour being dangerous. Now, if a 6-year-old throws a baseball at 90 miles an hour, I would have to suspect that the person be examined immediately. Possibly for a performance-enhancing lunch. I don't know. But the whole point I'm trying to get at here is you gotta let the kids play and run around. Just use a lighter ball. If you're hit, you're out. So be it. It's all about having fun. And it seems like dodgeball being banned by the state of Alabama, or highly recommended that be banned, that they don't want the kids to do that. It makes absolutely no sense at all. Now, there might be arguments for or against, and I actually saw an argument kind of like suggestible to it, and I'll read that later on. Number 3. Oh, you'll love this. Duck, duck, goose. This is described by the state of Alabama as a game of minimal participation where the chosen quote-unquote goose attempts to get up from a sitting position and tries to catch the ducker, who only has to go about 60 feet and already has a full running head start. Everyone else just sits and screams at ear-shattering pitch and decibel levels. Folks, we are not at a Taylor Swift concert at Jordan-Hare Stadium in Tuscaloosa. That is what we call ear-shattering pitch and decibel. These are kids. I mean, you get 25 kids running around. They're going to scream. This is normal. And I'm not going to scream at their level because I'd wake the house up right now. But the whole point I'm trying to get at here is, good Lord, it's running around. Duck, duck, goose. We are not playing with real ducks and real geese. And trust me, the bovine excrement's going to come out from them and it'll hit the ventilation shaft. Maybe we should throw it at the state of Alabama's Department of Education. Maybe that will show how they feel about what they think about these ridiculous rules. I mean, my goodness, they're kids. And who wrote this stuff? Really? Who wrote this? Some numbskull who probably got an F in English and probably hired a cheap lawyer to get the wording correct? Number 4. Goodness, this sounds like they didn't like Harry Potter either. Giants, elves, and wizards, otherwise known as crows and canes. Now, I've never heard of this, but according to the Department of Education, they quote it as an updated version of the already bad crows and canes. So basically what they're saying is, participation time is at a bare minimum, the rules take forever to explain, and even then students are still confused. By you writing that rule, I am still confused. The game usually ends when 2 students crash heads together. Now, like I said, I've never heard of this game. But, first of all, head injuries, obviously concussions, that could be a little bit of an issue. However, like I said, the point is about having fun. And I'm confused as to why they wrote it that way. It's just really unbelievable. Now on the bottom, it's funny, on the bottom it says here, Alabama State Department of Education inappropriate activities. Unbelievable. Here's number 5, kickball. I mean, kickball? We played kickball in high school. A game students can organize and play quite well by themselves as early as 2nd grade. Combine that with minimal activity for 90% of the students, the potential for embarrassment when a kicker misses the rolling ball, and the opportunity to get players out by hitting them as hard as possible with a thrown ball. Alright, so you're playing a game of baseball with your feet, and with a giant ball. So basically they use the same ball for kickball as they do with dodgeball. Now I don't think it would work very well with a very fluffy Nerf ball. You would have infield fly rules like every 2 kicks, no question about it. And if the wind is blowing in, they're going to be forever foul balls and the game will take forever. It's really amazing how they come up with these ridiculous things. And if this is, and it's funny because the way these 2 things are written, you could almost look at it as if it were satire. If it really is, then I mean, put a disclaimer on the bottom where nobody can see it. It's really insane. And I'll tell you what else is insane. Number 6, musical chairs. I played this in nursery school. It is described as a classic elimination game in which the least skilled and least attentive students are immediately eliminated and then sent to improve their abilities by sitting on the floor, spinning mindlessly in circles and waiting 15 minutes for the winner, which is almost always the same student, to be determined. Not necessarily. I disagree with that. Because when you look at this, I find it absolutely insane that the same student would win. Timing is always everything. So sometimes it's a matter of you being in the right position, and if you don't get the right chair, okay, you lose. So what? Once you're a winner and then you lose a game. So what? No team is perfect. No baseball team's going to go 162-0. No football team is ever going to go 19-0, even though the Patriots should have had that 10 years ago. You're never going to go 82-0 in hockey or basketball. You're going to lose sometimes. And sometimes losing just builds character. I just ridiculous. Number 7, and this sounds like something that could happen for a field day at the end of the year. Relay races. Now, they describe it as an 8-minute activity in which a student gets one 20-second chance to go and then either succeed or fail in front of classmates' eagerly watchful eyes. Successes are generally ignored. Sounds like sometimes life, Sounds like life. But failures are fodder to continuing ridicule, at least through dismissal at the end of the day. Jeez. Sometimes things happen. It's like, relax. Again, it's about having fun. I don't get it. Now, I'm going to have to send a message to Devin and ask her, is this for real or is this an actual joke? It's just like one year where Major League Baseball said they were going to allow aluminum bats, but the report came out on April 1st. Now you get what I mean. The last one I've never heard of, but this is more southern, I think, a game called Steal the Bacon. It is described as a sideline game in which two opposing players come out to the center of the court and compete against each other in front of the entire class. Any activity with this potential for embarrassment and absolutely minimal activity time easily qualifies as terrible. I just find it absolutely insane. I don't understand why this really could actually be happening. Now, some of the comments I've seen, courtesy of the WKRG and Reporters page, one says, phys ed has become a joke. Another says, I'm pretty sure it's satire. A third says, you're kidding, right? Another goes, this is absolutely stupid. You have to be crapping me. I'm not really surprised if it's true, since we are now a nation of crybabies raising crybabies. So this game kids enjoyed are out. This is why everyone laughs at Alabama. Now, that somebody who actually thinks it's a joke says, this document cannot be legitimate. It actually reads like an article from The Onion. Teaching kids to be afraid of failure is a joke. To protect them from embarrassment? You're doing children a disservice because the real world is not like the fantasy they are being trained to believe. And even one said, and I gotta see this, there was about 4 more pages after this one. I'm like, really? I would hope they're dead wrong about this. And you know what? I'm going to go ahead and at the end I'm going to type something up to see if this is really the truth here on the Department of Education. Now, Lee made this comment in regards to musical chairs, number 6. Well then, bleep and pay attention. Cindy in Kentucky says, wow, while we grew up playing these games, nothing occurred. This is so stupid, really. Even Lee continued again on number 6. The last 2 for musical chairs should call for ECW rules and beat each other for and with the chair. It adds flavor to the game. I don't think violence serves a purpose in the public schools, but hey, we can probably use those chairs on the dummies that created all these rules, if you think about it. I mean, you consider everything that's happened this year. If this is actually true, then believe it or else, 4 months to go, this year truly has brought out more signs of the apocalypse than I can even count. I don't get it. Even Cindy mentioned these are freaking dipsticks who came up with this stuff on some dumb crap. I had a cat from Canada tell me this is ridiculous. Patricia in Oregon said, probably a fear of lawsuits as well. Diane, who's a truck driver out west, she said, because people are raising kids to be soft and weak, and then later in life think they're entitled to whatever they want, and if they scream and cry, they'll get it. Kids need to know what winning and losing is. It builds character and helps teach them to find solutions on their own. Not everyone deserves a trophy just for showing up. Now, Elena, who I believe is up in Michigan, she had an argument for the dodgeball rule. And she says, I understand the no dodgeball. I mean, I had many a pair of glasses broke. My friend broke his arm, and another kid had his nose broke. So that one makes sense because it can end badly. But then she argues, Why isn't Red Rover on the list? We saw a kid get knocked out while playing that game. They are too worried about feelings, which isn't preparing these kids for real-world situations. Our business is going to go, well, we hire everyone that applies because an interview would be too hard on someone's emotional status. Like, no, that's never gonna happen. Sometimes in life, you get picked on, and sometimes you get looked over, like Duck, Duck, Goose. It happens. Sometimes you work hard, but someone was working harder than you, so they get a position you wanted, such as musical chairs. They are too worried about feelings to see this through. Hard to imagine. Lee just chimed in again and said, oh, and kickball is a fine elementary school tradition. You realize Ronnie Van Zant is somewhere right now just waiting for Neil Young to pass away so he can kick the living you-know-what out of him for this hippie stuff. And Lynn, who's on Conshohocken, she said, and they want to know why kids feel entitled. Well, take away games where it's taught it's okay to lose, and what do you get? And anything about the Jacksonville situation. Now, my son Danny wrote an incredible analysis on all 8 of these rules, and I think this is absolutely hysterical. My son puts it in other words. Alabama is saying that, for yoga, soft, quiet mental exercise is dangerous and is therefore prohibited. Someone could get hurt or mentally traumatized when the yoga pants that are 3 sizes too small plus a SpongeBob and rip apart. I mean, that's just unbelievable if you think about it. You go back to the game of dodgeball. He describes it as throwing a lightweight ball at a child for exercise purposes is considered child abuse. Kids should not learn to rub off a minor injury and learn to deal with it. They should instead blame the president for being racist, context doesn't matter, and sign a TV show contract on TLC. Or some of these other networks where you get Honey Boo Boo and all that. Number 3 for Duck, Duck, Goose. Loud sounds are dangerous. A kid can suffer permanent brain damage if the class bully taps a kid's head too hard with a 15-pound jackhammer. Now, that's a little shaky if you ask me. Number 4, which is the wizard one. If rules are complicated and confusing, then the game is automatically dangerous. I've never heard of it up until reading this, as I said. Number 5, and this is in the context of the game of kickball. And of course, my son being a baseball enthusiast says this. If kids are not being compared to Babe Ruth and Ted Williams by their phys ed teacher during kickball, the kids will feel mentally depressed and therefore will not be able to play as well. If a kid gets out, the kid should start crying with extra boogers down the first base line because he doesn't get on base every time. The lesson is you are a jerk if you don't let every single kid hit a home run every single time. It's that simple. Guys, put on a Phillies uniform. Y'all know what I mean. Number 6 for musical chairs. If a kid gets eliminated, the last thing you want to do is deal with it. Kids can suffer depression because there wasn't a 26-way tie for first. In the other words of Lee, who commented earlier, bleeping pay attention. And number 7, oh my goodness, this is lovely, for the relay races. In order to be allowed, kids must win every single time. If a child fails, he or she or it shall be carried out of the school by a stretcher, given an assembly with the whole school, and given the Medal of Honor by the President in Washington, D.C. You know what? The way the sign of the apocalypse is going, I would not be surprised if one day that does happen within the next 10 years. And that's a very sad state of affairs. And number 8, in regards to that Steal the Bacon game, which I've never heard of. I mean, Steal the Bacon for him describes as potential embarrassment shall be punished by death by those who push it upon someone. Of course, a safer way for me would be to bring a chicken and a pig to somebody's front door and say, hey, how about we have some ham and eggs? It's just, I really do not get this. And Lee even added on saying, the pay attention thing was actually not as aggressive as it sounds. Making kids pay attention to things is a healthy way to work with ADD and such. Maybe not cure per se, but the only way to treat something is to address it. My son was remarkably impressive with that analysis. And like I said, next week he's going to be starting 7th grade. And he wrote all that. That really is amazing. But I do want to look up one more thing while I have this moment, because I need to type in Google, let's see, Alabama State Department of Education inappropriate activities. Well, believe it or not, I mean, there's so many links, and they have, and from what I see here, let me see here. AL.com says, tag, kickball, Red Rover, musical chairs, games deemed inappropriate by Alabama schools. And I am not 100% sure if this is actually, oh, here's something. School safety information from the website alsde.edu. I'm looking at all this stuff, and I mean, believe it or not, let me read this again. The title for the Alabama State Department of Education: every child a graduate, every graduate prepared. Let's go back to the 8 games that are forbidden in Alabama schools. Every child a graduate, every graduate prepared. I rest my case. And that's it for Crazy Times, What Drives Me Crazy. If you want more information, just go to alsde.edu. It is somewhere there. This is real. Everyone thinking this is a joke. This is not a joke. I find this absolutely off the charts. Oh, here we go. Before I go, they have a physical education thing. All right, let's look at the description here. Alternative physical education assignments. Okay, they only have it updated to August the 9th. State requirements and regulations for physical education. Let me share this with you. Yoga is prohibited. Modified January 25th, 2017. Yoga prohibited to be taught or done on public school property before, during, or after school hours. And they also give laws, resolutions pertaining to physical education, and time requirements for K through 12 physical education. So they kind of list it as, I guess, a case of inappropriate activities, but all they have here listed is a phys ed requirement, athletics, time requirement for grades K through 8, certified physical education requirement, options for middle school physical education, high school phys ed requirement, sex discrimination law, the IDEA, Individuals with Disabilities Act, accountability law, and class size. So the yoga thing is correct, which I find unbelievable here. And then they give physical education electives, curriculum and instructional materials, and then certification, alternative PE assignments. I mean, they bring out some interesting stuff here, but the yoga one is correct, believe it or not, which makes me wonder if the other 7 are very, very strange. But then again, people are strange, just like the Doors said in the late 1960s. But that is just absolutely, I don't get it. Yeah, just type in Alabama State Department of Education inappropriate activities on Google, and you'll find a whole bunch of things. The Blaze, Yahoo, Newsweek, they've got it. AL.com. I'll go on a little further. MontgomeryAdvisor.com. WRBL.com, wherever that is in Alabama. AlabamaNews.net. Let me see here. I'm still looking here. Boy. My brain is spinning. So I guess reading those 8 rules have had an effect on me in the wrong way. So should I now sue the Alabama State Department of Education? Maybe. But for now, I'm out of here. Reach out to me, facebook.com/crazytom. You can Twitter and iGram me at CrazyTomShow as well. Thanks for watching. I'm out. I got to get ready for work. I'll see you guys later. And if you have any comments, you know where to list them.